Why don't you tell him about the time we faced him?
All right. Well, as I remember.
At Avenger headquarters.
Because united, the Avengers are strong.
Welcome to the Marvel Evolution Show with myself, Andy Stead.
And I'm Jarian Gibson.
And I'm Alex Stroud.
And it's been ages since we've been live. A whole 10 minutes. It's been so long since I've seen you guys. A whole 10 minutes. Yeah, so we're back recording back-to-back episodes today. We just done our episode on Miss Marvel. And we're back now to do a episode on Thor, Love and Thunder. This is going to be a review episode. So if you're listening to this episode or if you're watching live on this one, you can see there on the screen that Jarian's just put up our spoiler alert. All right, so we are going to be reviewing Thor, Love and Thunder. Before we say anything that's too heavy on spoilers, we'll give you another verbal spoiler alert, I should imagine. But yeah, we're going to get stuck into this movie and I wouldn't say analyse it. We never do that, do we, lads? We always sort of just chat about it, really. It's just three Marvel fans chatting about the latest stuff. So that's where we're at. I've also got the poster competition to announce the winner of. Jarian's going to have some pieces of news to talk about. Yeah, so we'll get going. Jarian, over to you. You want to do the news first?
Do we? Or do you want to do the giveaway first? Or do you want to wait till the end?
What do we want to do? I don't know.
Alex, you decide.
Yeah, go on then, Alex. News giveaway, then discussion? Or
let's do
whatever.
The giveaway first.
Okay, then, fine. Right, okay, so we've got the giveaway. So we're giving away a poster. I'm going to be sending a poster to someone. We've got some names in my Marvel mug here. So they're all on these lovely pink Post-its that you can see here. So let's pull a name out. Let's have a look and see who we've got. And we have got... Danielle van der Heever. Well
Nice.
done, Danielle. Do you know what? She entered the last poster giveaway that we done, the Multiverse of Madness one. And the hey. Claps for Danielle.
I'm turn this off.
Yeah, that's right. That's fine. Thanks. The entry requirements for the poster giveaway for the Thor one were like invite. I think I said for the Multiverse Madness one. I think I said like invite 3 friends and like the post blah blah. And she invited about 20 people. She just kept inviting people. She was like, I better win this poster. And then it come out and it wasn't her. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. So then I said on the thing, I was like, try again. And just to prove that obviously I picked out a thing. You know, there we go. Look who's there. There's Jamie. Jamie Cloud. She was really desperate to win it because she's got a great little Thor set up with like bobbleheads and stuff. There's Antonio in there as well. I think there's Sai in there as well. And this was before Sai. That's Sai. You can't see it, can you? It does say it on there. But that was before Sai invited about 1,000 people to our group as well, which was a shame. But Danielle, I will get that in the post to you. Well done. So there we go. There's a giveaway, a group giveaway. Well done, Danielle. Now what are we doing, Alex? We've got to do news next, surely, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Go on in. Way you go, Joe.
All right. So let's start off with the length of the movie.
Mhm.
Because people said it felt fast. It was under 2 hours. It wasn't incredibly short, but it wasn't incredibly long either. So Taika Waititi says original cut is 4 hours long. Whole sequences with planets and characters were cut. He went on to say, I've been thinking about the director's cuts. I watched director's cuts a lot of other directors. They suck. Director's cuts are not good. Directors need to be controlled sometimes. And if I was to say, you want to watch my director's cut? It's 4.5 hours long. It's not good at 4.5 hours. There's a lot of cup of tea breaks in there. You don't even have to pause it. I'd say my cut will probably have a few more jokes in there. There might be a couple of deleted scenes, but as I say, a scene is deleted because it's not good enough to be in the film. I think the deleted scenes section in the DVD, not that they use them anymore, should be a list of scenes and no links so you can't click on them. I don't know. I don't want to see any of footage ever again in my life, but like it's so tiring. The last thing I want to go is like, I guess I have to try that scene again the film has a strong structure now, and anything else we put in, like a big long scene, like a bunch of soldiers going to have dinner with some French people on a river, if we put a big long scene like that, and I feel like that wouldn't make sense, sorry about that. So there you go. People clamoring for the Waititi cut of Thor: Love and Thunder, it ain't gonna happen.
I tell you what, that's really refreshing, isn't it? Having a director coming out again. You don't want to see my cut. I'm a director. I'm not an editor. There's editors for a reason. These movies. I mean, don't get me wrong. And Alex, I don't know what your opinion is. Obviously, big DC guy. The Snyder cut. Obviously, there was some really great parts to it. But on the other hand, I was sitting there going, "My God, I'm so tired." It was like so long. It was ridiculous. And I don't know. What do you think about that?
So if you take the Snyder cut, it was definitely way too long. That's almost like a 4-hour movie too, in essence. So it's very similar in length. But I felt like they kind of added some stuff in the Snyder cut just to add some stuff like it didn't need to be in there. Like I kind of felt like the Martian Manhunter stuff in that movie was just added and didn't need to be there. But with this, I kind of feel like adding more jokes. I would have liked to have seen personally Gore kill some gods.
Yeah.
Like more of that, rather than just like seeing like dead bodies of gods and things of that nature and stuff. But yeah, I mean, personally, that would be the only thing that I would add to this movie would be Gore killing some gods.
Yeah. I think he's right. I think Watiti's right. Like, we don't need another 20 minutes of jokes.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what we would need at all, and I'm glad that's quite refreshing, actually, isn't it, to hear a director say that. It doesn't sound like he's kind of up his own backside, sort of going, "I know better than everybody else, and you should see the movie that I wanted to create." He's like, actually, I've got a team of people, directors and producers, and editors and etc. for a reason.
And I think what we saw with the Snyder cut, I think that's more of the exception than the rule of something like that coming out like that, because people were even calling for the Ayer cut of what was it, Suicide Squad or no? Yeah. So,
but I mean, like with the Justice League, that first movie was kind of a mess. So the Snyder cut was
made sense.
Like, yeah, it made sense. Like in this case, like just now because we've done it one time doesn't mean that every time a movie comes out and we're not happy about the length, we should go, "Hey, let's get the such and such cut of this."
Yeah.
Like get the insert director's name cut. Like,
yeah.
So.
Yeah, you shouldn't just do it every time now just because it worked once. Like, they can't just keep saying it again. Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
And I'm agree with Roxy here. She says, "I'm still waiting for Beta Ray Bill. Unless there's a Beta Ray Bill scene that we didn't get in the movie, I don't want to care about it. I don't want to see a director's cut." Even Hemsworth addressed this. So Chris Hemsworth said, "It was the most batshit crazy, wild 4-hour cut I've ever seen. It was about 4 hours. It was like a Monty Python sketch. I wouldn't call it a movie. The story was sacrificed for jokes." So there you go. Even Chris Hemsworth, the star of the movie who plays Thor, doesn't agree with it either, it sounds like. This movie got a B+ cinema score, so the same rating as Multiverse of Madness.
Really?
Yep.
From where? From where? Sorry.
Cinema score. So not Rotten Tomatoes, but Cinema Score is the one everyone goes off of now.
Right. Okay.
Because Rotten Tomatoes you can review bomb it, but Cinema Score gave it a B+. Here's an interesting one. So we know that Russell Crowe did play Zeus, but he was originally going to play Satan from earlier concept images. They actually have him dressed up in concept art as Satan. So
are they real? Because I just saw that and I think it looks rubbish.
It does look rubbish, but it sounds like it. Everyone's reporting on it, so I'm not sure. But
okay,
I'm just reporting the news here. So was he Mephisto? Could he have been Hades? Maybe
Mephisto. Because wasn't he? He was. I'm sure as soon as they said that Russell Crowe was in this movie, they'd said that he was going to be playing Zeus, and that was a long time. I'm sure I don't
think right away they said he was Zeus. I think they added him to the cast, and Zeus came out a little bit later.
Right.
So maybe early concept art, they probably thought he needs this role, but then they said no, he's going to be Zeus.
Right.
I mean, even Hades would have made sense because he would have been like Zeus's uncle.
Mythology.
I mean, Hercules' uncle. So I mean, they could have had Hades, be like, "Oh, go redeem your father,"
Yeah,
was killed.
Right. Okay. It could have almost been that Hades was Russell Crowe as well.
Yep.
Like he could have played Hades as well, couldn't he? And said that, yeah.
And then Hemsworth on what he finds most relatable about Thor. Yeah, no, definitely. Especially since Taika got involved, he brought out the immature, young, adolescent quality that I embody, and so does Thor now, which he did in the original films, which was exciting and new and fresh. And that's always sort of the North Star is about having fun. Embodying this space as a child would and enjoying all of it, being caught up in the wonder and fascination of all of it, and not going to get bogged down in a serious sort of nature that we can when making films. Personally, with these kind of films, it's got to be fun. It's what we've done. That's what I've related to. That's what Taika's kind of insisted upon, and it's been fun. So it almost sounds like Taika and Hemsworth were kind of a good pairing there for these last two films.
Mm. There's an argument out there that Thor has been turned into a bit of a buffoon, and a little bit of a joke. I can see the argument, but I can throw a couple of counter moments at that argument. First of all, the moment when he spoke up at the meeting. He spoke up at the meeting and got everybody's attention. Everyone was getting a little bit out of hand, and everyone sort of went, "Oh, hold on," Thor's speaking. Then there was the moment, and he'd learnt from the first interaction that he had with the kids, and the second interaction with the kids that he had. He was telling the story. He kept them calm. He was motivating them and inspiring them, and encouraging them and empowering them. He'd done a really good job of being that kind of that leader, that wise leader. And then obviously at the very, very end as well, when we see, the decision that he makes, the things that he says to certain characters. And I think that they showed his maturity and his wisdom, but he's also got that, that comedic side, that soft side. Yep. And it's what Danica said a little while ago, that soft masculinity. So, yeah.
Go
ahead.
I was just gonna say, even with what you just said, like when he takes the stage, he's kind of forced into that because Valkyrie's like, heads are gonna start rolling unless you like do something for in like the next 60 seconds. So that with the children, he goes in there and he sits down, he's like telling them this, he's building up their spirits, but he comes back and he's like, well, I told him we had a plan. But we don't have a plan. Oh yeah, I know. But I told them we had a plan. Like it's still kind of got that comedic kind of vibe to it. I get it, but I don't know.
And just think of Thor's arc in the MCU. He's lost his mother. He's lost his father, his brother, his friends, half of Asgard, all the stuff that he's gone through in the MCU. Right. Mm-hmm. Sometimes people use comedy as a self-defense mechanism. As well. Dude's got a lot on his plate. So for him to kind of laugh things off and the way he acts like he does, it could be his way of coping and dealing with all the crap that Thor's been through since his arc has started in the MCU.
Yeah.
I think this is this Jimmy right here in this comment?
No, it's Mark.
It's Mark. It's about the Beta Ray Bill comment. This would have been the perfect movie to include him as well. Especially they didn't include Party Thor and All Father Thor, which I think I agree to as well. But it would be kind of weird to just bring him in this movie. Depends how they do it, because I also felt that bringing Sif back for this movie felt kind of weird as well and out of place the way they did it.
But that line about like when she's like, "Oh, leave me here, let me die, and I'll go to Valhalla," and he's like, "Well, you didn't die in battle. Maybe your arm's in Valhalla. You're not gonna go to Valhalla." Like I laughed so hard during
Yeah.
Do you know what was really funny when we saw that end credit scene, just to see an arm in the background just on the floor?
Natalie Portman and
carried an arm.
Yeah, just walk out. Yeah.
So yeah, so Beta Ray Bill, I would love to see, but they would have to explain it better than they explained Sif coming back, because there's no explanation other than she was on this planet, they're getting wiped out, she fought and she survived, and so forth. I thought that was not handled the best in that scenario. So maybe Beta Ray Bill, like I said, even though I love to see him, would have not been handled the best in this movie.
Yeah, I got to admit, I didn't really mind how they brought Sif in. I mean, she's off doing her thing, I guess. I don't
mind, but there was no explanation. It's just like thrown in.
but did it need one? She was off protecting another planet. She was off doing some duties on another planet as an Asgardian. I don't know if it really.
Yeah, but if you see her from what last time we saw her in the Dark World until through Ragnarok, through Infinity Game, through In War,
oh
and
yeah,
now Love and Thunder, it's like
yeah,
okay,
her just popping up felt weird out of place. That's my point.
I see what you're saying now. Yeah, with that in mind, where has she been between then and then? Like what she's doing now isn't a problem, but where has she been through all of that other stuff? That was quite.
You think if Ragnarok's happening, you're getting your butt back to Asgard to help out?
Yeah, I get your point.
And they basically like scoop her up and just like take her back to New Asgard and like put her, take care of her, put her in the medic facilities, and then never even see her for the rest of the movie. I'm pretty sure.
Well, until the end, yeah.
Until the end,
yeah.
She was training.
Oh yeah.
So a couple other news here. It opened with the 5th highest Marvel Thursday opening at 29 million domestically. It also doubled Ragnarok's opening, and it did make 300 million worldwide this weekend. So the only movies in front of Love and Thunder are Endgame at 60 million, Spider-Man No Way Home at 50 million, Infinity War at 39 million, and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness at 36 million.
Wow.
Yeah. Budget-wise, it tied with Civil War for the 4th most expensive budget at 250 million. And so the only other movies in front of that were Infinity War 3rd at 300 million, Age of Ultron 365 million in 2nd place, and of course Endgame at 400 million in 4th place. So it cost more than Doctor Strange, Spider-Man No Way Home, Eternals, Black Panther, Guardians of the Galaxy, a bunch of those like top 10. But yeah, tied for 4th.
I reckon Russell Crowe's wages took most of that.
Lena Headley's wages. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, speaking of Lena Headley, I wonder what role she would have in this film. Would she would have been another Olympian?
I reckon so.
Would she would have been Gore's wife? Could she have been another god? It would be interesting to see what role she would have had in this film.
I reckon she was going to be a god. She sounds like it's Gore's wife. Unless the story would have been different, if she was Gore's wife, she would have been in it for about 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. Not even that. But I think if she was another god, she could have been in it for a lot longer.
I also wonder too. Sorry, real quick. If instead of him trying to get to eternity, if she could have been Mistress Death and him trying to get to Mistress Death,
or she was eternity.
Or eternity too. Yeah. So,
I definitely think that a lot of the gods that we saw in this were interesting too. Like they talked about Ra, connection to Egypt. Quetzalcoatl, yeah. And they talked about there was another one that I cannot even.
Here it's I know you're talking about the Mari god of war, also known as Ku, the pantheon of Polynesian gods. Tuma, Tenega.
Mm-hmm.
Was the other one that mentioned like 3 stood out there that he mentioned.
Yeah, that was Thor's dream team or whatever in the movie.
Which also included Hercules and Zeus as well. So he had a 5-people god dream team, which we saw Quetzalcoatl was kind of cool. That was the green dragon that you saw in the stands. That was Quetzalcoatl, which will tie back to Aztecs and tie back to Namor, possibly.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then we also saw the Celestials there as well, which that was interesting to see 2 Celestials attending the meeting.
Looking through the portal, weren't they? They were looking through the window, weren't they?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, as you mentioned, Ra, that was our first tied to Moon Knight in the MCU outside of Moon Knight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was waiting for him to say Khonshu, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I was hoping for it.
But Ra's kind of higher on the list there than Khonshu.
Yeah, that's
so I can see why they said Ra.
Yeah.
Speaking of Hercules, the last bit of news is that the first end credit scene, we introduced a new character to the MCU, which I called it.
Take him. Take him.
I go, if you're doing Zeus, you have to get Hercules in some form or fashion, which I figured we'd see him in Omnipotent City, not in the end credit scene, but it makes sense. So Taika Waititi talked about casting Brett Goldstein. If you're not sure who Brett Goldstein is, if you watch what's the soccer show? I'm going blank now. With Jason Sudeikis, he's the coach.
I don't know.
Anyways, he's on that show on Apple TV Plus.
Right.
I'm going blank on the show name, but anyways, that's where he's from. And he said Kevin really wanted to do it, and yeah, Brett's amazing. He's great. And on the future, he said, I don't know if it's to do with Thor or if it's to do with how that will develop. Because obviously Hercules, there's a character from the books as well. And so, yeah, this will be interesting to see because Kevin, he's obviously the mastermind of all the threads and how they'll tie up and how they'll meet, mix, and match. So I'm curious to find out myself, which they could go a number of ways, right? So Ted Lasso, thank you from the comments. Yes, Ted Lasso. He's from Ted Lasso. He's like one of the main characters on Ted Lasso. So they could do a number of ways, right? They could have Hercules as part of the Thunderbolts as an alternative to Thor. You know, they could set up Battle of the Gods with Thor 5. So there's a lot of ways they could go with Hercules. Even at one point, isn't he an Avenger, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, he is, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, but doesn't that happen? Doesn't he come again? I'm not sure, but doesn't he come down as a challenger to Thor, and then like he gets spun into a hero and then joins the Avengers? I'm sure that happens at some point.
Yeah. So they're doing a nice setup here, and I hope they stay with Brett Goldstein because I loved him in Ted Lasso.
He looked good, didn't he?
Yeah, he looked good too. Because I was like, because I was sitting there and it's funny. We were at the end and people are getting up and leaving, which I don't understand why people still do this with Marvel movies. And my son and I went to see this, and we're sitting there, and they showed Zeus again, right? And it's like, oh, I'm like, oh, here we go. And I'm doing that thing from Nutty Professor, Hercules, and then they show him. The people next to us were cracking up laughing as I was doing this. Like, it's going to happen right here. And it was like, there it was. But yeah, they could do so much with this. And Battle of the Gods, they could do, they could do all kinds of stuff. And it was interesting that post-credit scene. So
yeah. And while we're on post-credit scenes, go to the next one. We've said for a little while about them not wasting that end post-credit scene, but that being a little bit of a joke. I thought this was a really good one. I thought this was probably the most. I thought it was great and great. And do you know what brought my attention to it as well? When the credits started rolling, it said Idris Elba as Heimdall, and I know obviously we saw the image of him.
The flashback.
Yeah, when he died. But correct me if I'm wrong. The actors don't get credits in the credits if it's from another movie.
I don't think they do.
No, they don't. So I was like, I saw his name, and I was like, oh, I didn't realise they'd done that. And then it just kind of occurred to me. I was like, oh, wait a minute. I wonder whether we'll see him in the end credits. And then when we didn't see him in the first one, I kind of then went, oh no, we're not going to see him now, because I thought the last one would just be stupid. Like it has been. Well, I thought me and
Bruce Campbell and Mom.
Yeah, well, we'll get onto this in a minute. But me and my younger son thought all we're going to see is just Tooth Gnasher and Tooth Grinder just screaming. But then obviously he pops up, and I was like, oh, that's brilliant, that's great. And I thought he looked brilliant, and that was good to see Jane there, and that was great. Yeah, I was so happy to see him, and that's another one I said we're going to see Heimdall. I was like, I can't wait to see Heimdall again. We have to see Heimdall, and we got Heimdall. And I love the arc in this movie, how they tied the storytelling to his son Axel, and also just showing him welcoming Jane to Valhalla. So yeah, that was really nice actually. I think, do you reckon that's the last we're going to see of Jane and Heimdall now that they're in Valhalla?
I don't know, because they could do a whole Valhalla type thing too, and something around that. We could possibly see the Warriors 3. We could see other people that passed Frigga and Odin, maybe even Bor. I don't know. Maybe some kind of Asgardian history story. So who knows?
Maybe that's the end of Thor's story one day. Like Thor dies, goes to Valhalla. And they all embrace him.
And he's back with all the people that he's lost.
He loves. Yep.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Warriors 3, Korg's little montage, and that guy. Do you remember this guy? That was absolutely brilliant.
He kept on mispronouncing Jane Foster's name. It was Jane Fonda at one point, and it was Jodie Foster at another point, and I was just laughing about that.
Yeah, and I was kind of worried how they did the storytelling between since we've always gotten Odin telling the stories up until now, so it was a good tradition of Korg doing that in here as well.
You got any more news items, Jane, that can spin off a conversation? Or
nope. But we can start off into the intro. We had a new intro, and not only was the music different, which had a Bill and Ted vibe in the Marvel intro, but we also had Miss Marvel in the new Marvel Studios intro. So that was pretty cool.
That was extra cool. Her show hasn't even finished yet, and they're still they put it in. Yeah.
and they put her in the Disney thing already, and then we know she's going to be in the Marvels. So yeah, she's already front and center now.
Yeah.
In the MCU, so it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
There are some funny things in here. Thor riding Stormbreaker like a witch's broomstick in the beginning there, once he was on the planet with the Guardians. Kraglin getting married on every planet they go to. It's like, Kraglin, where you been? Oh, I was getting married again, type thing. So he's basically getting married like on every planet. The female werewolf on a woof when they would go through the lovers,
Yeah.
I thought that was an interesting one to have that there. I wonder if that's tied to anything or that's just like a throwaway scene.
Well, didn't one of the kids say he was like a lycanthrope too?
Yeah.
When Thor's like, "You're all Asgardian," and they're all like, "Well, actually, I'm this." Well, you're all Asgardian today, Like
that moment reminded me of Life of Brian. You're all different, and then one guy, I'm not. Yeah, it just reminded me of Monty Python scene.
So you mentioned the kids. Those Asgardian kids. Some of those kids were Taika Waititi's kids.
Yeah.
Some were Natalie Portman's kids. Chris Hemsworth. All three of his kids were in this movie. So two of his sons played the montage of Thor running and growing older, but also one of them was also one of the Asgardian kids as well. And then his daughter played Gor's daughter, Love, as well.
Wow.
This movie was truly a family affair from that aspect.
Yeah, and obviously his brother plays him.
Yes, yeah, in the play.
What's his name? It's obviously not Liam, is it?
It's
no, that's the younger one.
Oh.
He almost was Thor in the MCU. I can't remember his name.
No, I can't remember his name either.
It's not Bill, is it?
I feel really bad.
No.
No, it's not Bill. I feel really bad that I can't remember his name now. That's terrible. Chris Hemsworth brother. That's awful, isn't it? I hate to be known as Chris Hemsworth brother. Someone tell us what Chris Hemsworth other brother's name, not Liam, the one that plays Thor. Someone tell
Roxy goes, those goats were crazy. So want to talk about the goats?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
It was kind of funny how he got the goats. It was seen as a prize or a reward, but they're like, get these goats the heck off this place.
you accepted it, now you take it out of here. Like
I thought they were absolutely hilarious. I just couldn't stop laughing at the goats. For me, that was 100% the funniest part of the movie. The goats.
And they're there to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right? They helped them get because we saw Stormbreaker acting like a teenage child, which basically Stormbreaker is a teenage child because it's from the arm of Groot. From Infinity War, which Groot's now a teenager, so that's why you saw the issues he had with Stormbreaker being jealous of Mjolnir, and that's where the goats came in to help them travel. So the goats were pretty much a key role in the film.
Yeah.
The scream that they did whenever they would enter just always like had me laughing.
Yeah.
Like, I think I laughed at every scream that they did because it would always just catch you off guard. It would always come out of nowhere. You just hear that weird scream in the background and then them going somewhere.
But how did we laugh at every scream? Like, why was it still funny?
Because I think of the timing. It was like timed perfectly.
But who's that? Is that Jamie?
Yes. Is it Sean or Scott?
I don't think it's either of those. I'm going to find out now. I'm literally going to find out now. Go
ahead. I was going to say, but we got the most Thor and Jane story in this montage from
Luke.
Thank you. Luke Hemsworth. There you go.
And I've always thought he'd play a good Beast as well. Because he was in Westworld.
Yeah, he's really good in Westworld.
Yeah, he's really good in Westworld. But I've always thought he'd play a really good Hank McCoy, especially before he goes blue. Anyway, carry on, Jarian. Sorry.
So yeah, we got the most Thor and Jane love story and background of what happened with them in the Korg montage there. But what was interesting, the enchantment.
Oh yes.
So we know how she got, why Mjolnir basically reformed for her, which we called it. Everyone kept saying Mjolnir multiverse. I'm like, no, she's gonna go to Asgard. We're like she's gonna go to Asgard. It's gonna sense that she's ill and reform for her. It was interesting how they did that whole play with her sickness and her cancer. Is that those books all of a sudden on the magic, and Sullivan was helping her, Darcy was helping her, which good cameos there in the movie, and then she ends up going to magic because science is failing her.
Yeah, I thought that was really a really neat way because nobody really knew. Why it went to her, because she's not I guess in a way she's not really worthy, is she?
And you could say with what happened before with the Aether and that kind of stuff that that could have made her worthy, because that was my thinking. And then Alex and I were discussing that maybe the Aether was what made her gave her cancer, but they didn't mention what gave her cancer at all. So
yeah, they didn't say. I wouldn't be surprised. I think that makes good sense though. But I would. To be honest, if somebody said to me, "Do you think she was worthy?" I'd say no. It was Thor's enchantment on the hammer that it looked after her. That's what he asked it to do. So it did it. It doesn't mean she was worthy. It just means it looked after her.
And I think this movie also kind of opens up the door too for something interesting, which is Thor basically bestows his power upon her indirectly in that way, but he also does it with the children directly. And so he's like, he gives 25 children the power of Thor. He can do that with Beta Ray Bill down the road. Fingers crossed, but
that's a great point.
He did it with the kids temporarily. That was brilliant. Give the power to Thor. Temporarily.
And then speaking of her going to Asgard, and we saw it's a tourist attraction site, right? So we saw rides there. We saw the Thanos ice cream, Thanos cone ice cream, whatever it was. We saw that kind of stuff there.
Infinity cones.
Yeah, that's what it was. But the tour, do you know what the tour guide was? Daryl from the one shots.
Team Thor.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Do you know what? I thought that was him, and I couldn't pinpoint where he was from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was him from who lived with Thor, wasn't it? Yeah, in these little sort of office style scenes, weren't they?
So Roxy goes fingers crossed on your Beta Ray Bill theory, Alex.
Yeah.
But yeah, we saw Daryl. So
yeah, Daryl was funny. Like I say, that reminded me of The Office. Those one shots with him and Daryl, it was very much like that, when it like fly on the wall interviewing type thing. Yeah, they were really funny. I liked. I thought Infinity Cones was just genius, absolutely genius. If someone doesn't bring out an Infinity Cones ice cream shop now, they're missing a boat.
It almost seemed like Valkyrie was bored being the leader of Asgard, because she was cutting ribbons, kissing babies, doing other things. It almost seemed like she was longing for that battle that she's always known.
Mm-hmm.
I think she said that, didn't she? Didn't she say those words? What you just said there? Didn't she say that to Jane?
She might have. I missed a couple things because 8-year-old, but asking questions. So
I'm sure she said something along those lines, like, "I'm fed up," or "I'm ready for battle," or "I'm always ready for battle," or "I'm bored being here," or something. I'm sure she said something like that.
Yeah, I think
it was like right after Jane breaks the sink that she has that conversation at the door or something. And but yeah, like I completely feel the same way. Like Valkyrie's kind of got this like, I'm ready to go back to war and go fight and be a soldier. Like I kind of accepted this, and it's great and all, but I would rather go be a soldier. Like that's what Asgardians do, is we go fight, like
which kind of ties into the end when she was training all the Asgardian kids.
Yeah.
After what happened, they have to be ready to basically defend themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm not sure that I liked. Well, then again, I think it did fit in with her. She's probably got PTSD from the fight that they had with Hela, where she lost all her sisters, and she definitely has, because obviously that moment was brilliant there with Gore, when he was talking to her about it, and she cried, brought that out. But she's obviously got a bit of a drinking problem as well, because she was said about getting the beer onto the keg, the keg onto the boat. Yeah, we're definitely taking that. And then obviously she was drinking with Korg while they were there, and I think she's got some issues, definitely.
And so, speaking of issues too, in that conversation, you saw that Gore and Jane kind of had similar trajectory there, because even Gore mentioned the fact that in that same scene, it's like, you and I aren't too different. We're kind of on the same path. That he knew that the power that he got from the Necro Sword was killing him, just like the power she got of Mighty Thor was killing her. So they kind of run that same path, and he sensed that with her. You want to talk about Gore now, since we mentioned Gore?
Yeah, and let's make it a triple threat, because I called. Oh no, this is a bit different in it, because this is a bit Miss Marvel. But tonight, I called the Miss Marvel time travel thing. Jarian called the Hercules thing, and Alex, you called the Shadow Realm thing.
Yep.
Yeah, that was I was not expecting that, but it just looked like it. It felt like it. It also reminded me of Yu-Gi-Oh! The Shadow Realm in that show as well, and in the book. So like it's kind of similar to that, but I know Marvel's got its own Shadow Realm, which is completely different in the comics. But like it was definitely a. It's almost like the Shade in Stargirl is what I can
Yep.
relate it to. It's
Yes.
like a darkness. They kind of changed out the darkness for shadows in essence. So like they have the Shadowlands in DC, they have the Shadow Realm in Marvel. So
It fit perfect for the story too, because they couldn't tie, because the probably the rights issue. They couldn't mention symbiote. They couldn't tie back to Null. But you notice that when he first got cut by the sword, that looked like a symbiote host bonding right there.
I tell you,
And
yeah, I tell you what, I don't think that they wasn't not referencing him. They wasn't referencing him, but they wasn't not referencing him either. I mean, something was speaking to him at the beginning as well.
Yep.
And
Yep. And it said eternity. Yep.
Yeah, I don't.
And had him crawl in the desert.
Yeah, something was talking to him. I think there's a little bit of groundwork there. Subtle groundwork without crossing any legal
rights issues. And the way they also too, when you saw the previous host laying there dead, they didn't really say, I don't think, how that host died. It's almost like the same thing we saw in Venom, where it kills some hosts. Like it, he has to find the perfect person to have longevity, like Eddie and Venom. But if they don't have that symbiosis, that's when basically it's killing the host the whole time. And I think that's what happened with the previous wielder of the Necro Sword.
Yeah. We spoke a little while ago about Oscar Isaac and that change when he went from one personality to another, and that change in his face. And I said about that there was a Long Good Friday, and Bob Hoskins done it, and Christian Bale did it in that moment when after we saw that first, or that other host that had been dead when he was killing the light god. He had that kind of, you saw his faith just go whoop and just fall out of him. You literally saw his faith fall out of him in a moment, and that's what Christian Bale can bring you, I guess.
And Christian Bale killed it as Gore.
Yeah,
and there was even a moment where he was in that cage with the kids in the Shadow Realm where he almost had a Pennywise like feel to him. Yeah,
where he rips the head off that little shadow
laugh
or whatever. Yeah,
and his demeanor, the whole nine.
And that was really funny, wasn't it? I really liked that. And that goes no, not funny. It wasn't funny. But no, that crosses that line again that we spoke about ages ago about from whose perspective, because the kids were not laughing, but they were all sort of rejoicing about how Thor cut off Thanos' head, and they were like, yeah, and all laughing and smiling. And then he said, when he did that to that octopus
creature,
he then turned and goes, well, you liked it a minute ago when someone got their head cut off. And that's that's that perspective thing, isn't it? Like the kids loved it when Thanos got his head cut off, but when something else got or when the head got cut off in front of them, they didn't like it. I mean, you're not going to, they wouldn't have liked it if they would have saw Thanos got his head cut off, regardless of who it was. But it's again that kind of, well, hold on, is it okay or is it not okay? When is it okay and when is it not okay? I've just done it and now it's not okay, but it was okay a minute ago.
Which I think the kids in this movie were a real big missed opportunity, because at first I thought Gore was taking the children to protect them because he couldn't protect his own daughter. So he's going to go in and just slay everybody and protect the kids because it's like his last little bit of humanity. That's like he doesn't want to hurt children, because of what happened to his type of thing. But he uses them as bait and kind of torments them in a way. So I kind of was expecting them to go a different direction with that when he took the children from Asgard, or excuse me, from New Asgard. But
but could that be the Necro Sword? Yeah, corrupting him, because you saw once he was free at the end with the Necro Sword that he actually had more sense about and what he wanted to do when he was at Eternity. So that could have been the corruption there taking over him.
Yeah, and not the first time we've seen corruption in the last last couple of months. Obviously, the Darkhold corrupting people, and now the Necro Sword corrupting people. Just on Gore, I'm going to slightly rephrase it. Christian Bale killed it as that character, but that wasn't what I was expecting from Gore. I'm not saying he wasn't Gore. It was Gore. That's the interpretation of Gore, but it wasn't the interpretation. It wasn't what I would have expected 3 years ago after reading the God Butcher storyline of what I would see Thor on screen. Gore.
Yeah. So, as a person who always goes after the Taskmaster issue in the MCU, thinking of it from stepping back and looking at the prisms of that, we did get Gore. We got Gore for the most part, but we didn't get the God butchering. We didn't get
that's what Alex
the
said.
full look and feel, but it fit the story they were trying to tell.
Oh yeah,
in the MCU. And yes, could they have shown him killing more gods instead of just showing the god in the beginning, and then the fight in Shadow Realm, and then the fight at Eternity? Yes, they could have shown more god butchering. Or do they have to show him actually butchering gods? Was the aftermath enough? That was my questions, and I thought he was one of the better villains. Yes, we didn't get comic book accurate Gore, but I think at this point we can't look at comic book accuracy anymore as it relates to MCU content.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess you say that, but there was some scenes in that movie that were so close to the comic. I mean, they were literally like the rocks were the same in some of those scenes. So they've torn some of the pages out of the comic and just made them into a film. So I thought he was absolutely amazing. I thought he was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. It's probably the best part about the movie. But yeah, I don't know. There was just. It's hard, isn't it? You don't want to say it was a missed opportunity because he was so good. And I guess it's in a way, again, I'm going to relate it to Moon Knight. Similar to Moon Knight, Oscar Isaac was just so good, but the show itself as a whole was a little bit, it just felt, for me, it fell flat a little bit. But Oscar Isaac was brilliant, and it's kind of like, actually, he was probably one of the best characters that we've seen in any of the shows. But the show itself, and it's the same with Gore. Christian Bale was absolutely amazing. The character was brilliant, but there was still just something that wasn't quite right. But he was amazing.
And just real quick, Roxy says Thanos and Gore are the best villains in the MCU. Wish we could see him more. And there is a rumor that we are going to see more Christian Bale in the MCU. Whether that's going to be as Gore or another character, I don't know. We know the MCU has used dead actors for other roles. The major one is going to be Minerva and Cersei. But we could see him in another role. But I think with that being said, I think he fit the story because it was Gore the God Butcher was the villain, but the story was Love and Thunder, right?
Yeah.
Which in the end we saw in the end, basically it was Gore's daughter was the story, Thor was the story, Jane Foster, Thor moving on, I think from the past and moving on and starting a new adventure. I think that was the main thing of the story, and I think they hit that because I think this movie wraps up Thor's previous arc well in the MCU and puts him on a new arc in the MCU. Yeah,
I think he definitely gets over the trauma that he's experienced from what we've seen so far, and now he's moving forward. He's got a focus now, though, hasn't he? He's got a purpose.
Yep.
I'm really interested to see what they do with Gore's daughter moving forward, because they show that scene where it basically flips from the water and you basically see moving up with like a camera view, and you see what looks like eternity standing over Gore, and then when you actually see the physical person and not the reflection, it's the little girl. So I'm curious, is a part of eternity in Gore's daughter now? Is
shot those kind of laser beams out of her eye at the end, didn't she?
Yeah.
So my interpretation is that she is reborn. She's not in eternity. She's not the embodiment of eternity. She's reborn from eternity and has some powers of eternity. I think eternity is still out there. But I don't think she's actually eternity. I think that just because she was reborn from eternity, that she has some of the powers.
It has a portion of her abilities or something. Yeah, that's interesting.
Which also is interesting too is that in the end she got Stormbreaker and Thor's got Mjolnir back. So that was interesting too.
Yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit about the action scenes before we go. Just purely for some of the action scenes, I thought were some of the best. Alex, you chucked a post on the group yesterday, I think it was, about your favourite fight scenes, and the usuals came up. And I didn't want to say too much because obviously it was, not outside of the discussion thread. But I tell you what, that was it on the Shadow Realm planet? I don't know what
Yes.
that was.
That was in the Shadow Realm. Yep.
Was that what that was? That was the Shadow
the color
Realm.
change, and you only saw certain colors.
Yeah,
Yep.
but was that planet? Was that the Shadow Realm, or was the realm everywhere? Do you know what I mean?
It was. I think it was everywhere, and that planet was part of the Shadow Realm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Okay. So, but regardless, I thought that was absolutely brilliant. I was getting, maybe it was just because of the black and white. I don't know, but I was getting proper Sin City vibes there.
Yes.
But it felt like an actual comic book. It felt like seeing. It really did feel like a comic book. Panels were on that page. I absolutely loved that whole sequence. From the moment they got onto that planet to the moment they left that planet, I absolutely loved it. I thought that was absolute genius. Really, really enjoyed it. The fights were good. And I'll tell you what, I was really surprised. I don't know why I was surprised, but I was surprised with Christian Bale's fighting, or Gore, whatever you want to call him, because it probably wasn't always him, stunt doubles. But I was really surprised with his style and his ability as well in the fights. That whole fight scene and that whole scene was really, really good. Really enjoyed it.
I actually thought the ending where Thor tries to use the Bifrost to get out of there, and Gore reaches out and grabs, Stormbreaker. That reminded me almost the exact same of that scene where he calls for the Bifrost in Ragnarok, and Hela jumps on board,
Yes.
and it's like very similar to that scene. Like you basically gave him exactly what he wanted, and they did the same with Hela, which was Hela got her doorway into Asgard. And with this, Gore was like, "Well, I wanted you gone. I just wanted your Stormbreaker."
Yeah.
So
yeah, that whole bit inside that cave as well was excellent. Absolutely excellent. Really loved how Jane was using Molyneux as well. Breaking up into bits.
Yeah.
Excellent. Absolutely brilliant. And I loved how, because there was little nods to the comic there as well about how she could do things with Molyneux that Thor couldn't. There was little bits about, how she was controlling it, that Thor was like, you should see the way he was looking at it, especially he was like, how did they do that? That was incredible, So that was fun. But,
very reminiscent of that scene where he's fighting on Surtur's planet, and he throws the hammer and it's just going around through the crowd, but instead with just pieces, and they're just going everywhere. Very similar to that.
Yeah. Sure.
Russell Crowe, he also killed it as Zeus. If Zeus was a real life person, that's what I would see Zeus like. The way he was, the gods not caring, the gods only in it for themselves. Everything in Omnipotent City was basically exactly why Gore was pissed and on his mission, and they conveyed that very well, because they just want to have party and do all these things, and they didn't care about the little gods. They didn't care about even the humans that worship them. They didn't care about anything but themselves. They were so full of themselves.
Yeah, they did convey that really well. Actually, like you kind of wanted to like at first you was like, yes, Zeus, and exactly like Thor said, exactly like he said, never meet your heroes.
Yep.
He was so excited, wasn't he? And at the end, you're like, this guy's a douche.
Yeah. But that's exactly how you would probably see Mount Olympus and any other gods and that kind of stuff. They basically gave you exactly what you would think it would be.
Yeah.
That's why his line at the end is so like troubling to me, where he's like, all they do is want their superheroes and things now. They don't care about the gods anymore. It's like, well, dude, look at what you care about. Like, you don't care about anything. Like, you don't care about anything. Like, what do you mean? Like, why are they going to care about you? Like,
that's why they're holding the superheroes up, because they're doing stuff and you're not doing anything. Yeah.
He won't even help lesser gods. So
which ties exactly into the very end, that once Thor frees Gore of the Necro Sword, he sees that, look, here is a caring god. Here is a god that cares about, that has love and that cares and this kind of stuff. And that's, I think, how that tied that up very well in the end, because once that corruption was gone, the whole main thing was about Gore's daughter dying. and then him showing the love for Jane as she's dying, and how Thor's like, I don't care anymore. Do what you want. I'm not going to waste any more of my time on you. I'm going to spend my last minutes with the person that I love. And so I think that really wrapped that up well for Gore's arc.
Yeah. I think that that realization, like Thor's realization as well, he kind of realized that actually, there's a bit that was kind of, he showed his humanity in that moment, I think, didn't he? But that's kind of what the gods were missing. They were missing their humanity, weren't they?
Yep.
And I think that's probably the where Thor's got a bit of an upper hand. He spent a lot of time with humanity, so he kind of knows how to be like a decent being.
Well, and he's also been a soldier for a lot of his life. He's been out there on the battlefield fighting in the trenches, like that's Thor's thing. He's not really like sitting on a throne somewhere, like wanting to call the shots. It's never been Thor's MO in the MCU. I mean, he has the throne practically given to him, and he's like, oh, I don't want that. Let's put somebody else on the throne, Yeah,
he's not. Yeah, he's a doer, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
He's a doer. He's not a sit around and eat grapes and be fanned. That was cool. The flicking was funny. I mean, I know we saw it in the trailers, but you flicked too hard. I thought that was quite funny. And
The one passing out.
yeah. And the way that Korgs make Crones.
Yes.
I thought it was a really ingenious way of making a new Cronin. They're all males, so they're all.
And
males.
that's straight from the comics too, isn't it? Am I remember correctly?
I'm not sure.
I thought it was.
It might
was
be.
straight from the comics.
I don't really know. I don't know.
What's really funny too is when they showed the Cronin god, it showed his throne and it had scissors, and the only thing I could think of was little rock paper scissors joke for you. Like that was the only thing I could think of like the whole time. Oh,
There was did anybody? I tell you what I felt about that God scene as well. I need to like to see it again and be able to pause it. Because I tell you what I felt about that was a little bit in the same way how I felt when they went into the I can't remember what it's called, but in Star Wars movies where they go into the Senate, where they go into the Senate and there's all the pods all over the place,
Yes.
all the different people, and you're like, oh, look, there's Wookiees, and oh look, and they just threw in like ET, and it's like ET, oh, and there's like sand people, and there's these, and there's like everybody from everywhere, and I kind of that God, in Omnipotent City, I was like looking around, going, oh look, there's that one, there's something, there's one of these, and there's Bast sitting there right in front.
Yep. I think we saw Dionysus too as well.
yeah. I mean, they were even like making like fun of like just gods of random things. Like one of them I think was like, oh, like look, there's the carpenter god, like god who like just like they just
Or the dumpling one.
The dumpling.
yeah the dumpling.
Yeah, there's the dumpling god. That was quite funny. Did we pick up it? What was the big sort of dragon? The big dragon.
That was Quetzalcoatl,
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay, and that's some
the Aztec god.
Aztec.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
because my son first thought it was the Great Protector and was like, no, there's another Great Protector. That's Quetzalcoatl. So
I think it's like original origin is like it like is the creator of the world and like a lot of Aztec lore and stuff like that. So
And there was something else big and sleeping. It zoomed out, I think, when Thor went onto the stage, that stage area, the area that looks like a stage. But there was something big sleep. It looked like a big sort of dragon sleeping then, but it wasn't the same. Wasn't that same dragon?
I wonder if that was the Great Protector, the one that was sleeping.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Maybe that's what my son meant. Maybe
it didn't look that big, to be honest. But
yes, watch that again. Yeah. My wife wants to go see it still, so I'm gonna go see it again. So.
Yeah, I think there's lots to pick apart in that scene, in all those scenes actually, where you could probably say, "Oh, look, that's the god of such and such." Any closing thoughts?
Well, we do know that Thor will return. It said that, so whether that's another Avengers movie, whether that's something else, another solo film, but Thor's gonna return. So are we gonna see him go on adventures with his daughter? Because that's his real daughter in real life. So, if that's the case, the direction they're going, she's kind of set going forward already in her young age. For that.
Yeah. I don't know where they're going. It was quite nice to sort of come away from the whole multiverse and time thing, wasn't it? Really, in a way.
Yeah, and I think with, like, let's say a Thor 5, I mean, everybody wants, like, Beta Ray Bill. We wanted him in this movie. Like, yeah, that would be exciting. But I literally, at the end of this movie, I see Thor pick up Mjolnir. I see her pick up Stormbreaker, and I'm like, man, we're not getting Beta Ray Bill anytime soon. So, because they're not going to give her Stormbreaker and then hand that over to somebody else or something,
What was
immediately.
the other thing? What was the other? Was it Yarnburn? There was another thing that the other guy got. Masterson. Who was the other guy? He got a hammer or a club or Yarnborn. I'm sure it's Yarnborn.
But the only thing that I can say about that though is Hercules is kind of like a club almost. So I don't know if they would give somebody else a club, but who knows? You know?
No, maybe not. Yeah, I can't remember what the guy's name was now, though.
Is it what Bald from Boulder? No,
it's going to bug me. I'll find out and I'll let you know, but I'm not going to find out now. Right, is that it? Closing thoughts. Are we done? Got a
giveaway.
A rating. No, we've done the giveaway.
Oh, yeah, we did that. Never mind.
We did that. I've got that here. Danielle's one. Rating.
Here you go. Yarnborn is Party Thor's axe.
He's what, sorry?
That must be Jamie.
Yarnborn
is Party Thor's
axe.
All right, okay. I can't, for some reason, I can't see any comments again. Oh, no, it's Mark.
Okay.
Yarnborn is Party Thor's axe. Ratings. Come on, give us a rating. What do you think? Out of 10.
I'm going to be generous. So I'm going to say a 6 or 7.
Yeah, I'll say 7.5 for me. Because for me, it's a story. It was something you can enjoy with your kids, like I did with my son. And I thought it wrapped up Thor's arc very well in the MCU, and so they can start a new arc for him.
Yeah, I'm going to go with I'm with you, Alex. There, I'm on the sort of high 6, low 7 side. It's odd because I feel disappointed for what they did with Gore, but at the same time, Bale was brilliant. I thought there was some moments in there where the comedy didn't quite hit for me, except the goats were just great. So I just think that there was a couple of missed opportunities and a couple of bits which I just didn't quite like, but overall I think it was a decent addition, and I'm I was happy to see it. So yeah, I'm like high 6, low 7. Are we good?
I was just going to say, personally, I think the biggest butchering that was done to this was Gore the God Butcher. But with all that being said, I've never I'm not a huge fan of Gore, but I can live with what they've done with his character. So it's a decent movie.
So you're almost where I'm at with Taskmaster. You're almost there.
he was nearly there. Yeah.
You were getting there. I was like, yes, Alex, feel my rage, but then you put it back. You were so close.
You put it back saying I'm not a big God Butcher fan. Yeah. Right, guys, it's been a pleasure. 2 episodes tonight. Recorded. Hopefully we haven't spoilt this movie for anybody, and we've done everything we can to keep everyone safe. We've safeguarded ourselves against spoilers, safeguarded our members against spoilers. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you next time round. Take care.
Have a good one.
See you guys.
Why don't you tell them about the time we faced doom?
All right. Well, as I remember,
At Avenger headquarters,